So tell us what's going on. A lot of people are reversing course on climate change.
Yeah, the biggest name, of course, was Bill Gates, and he
Yeah.
came out and he said, I think it's more important that we focus on improving people's lives, moving people out of poverty, providing good lives, good health, good medicine, good health systems for people, than it is to spend trillions of dollars. Well, he didn't say a non-existent problem. I call it a non-existent problem, but spending trillions of dollars to try and keep the Earth from warming another tenth or so degree of warming from additional CO2. In fact, he said, this was just last week, and it was a lengthy, I think, 17-page memo that he wrote ahead of the Council of Parties meeting in Brazil, which they have every year. The
Right.
climate alarmists all get together and wet the bed together at the same time. These climate bedwetters. But what he said was, if you ask me, would I sacrifice a tenth of a degree of warming or eradicate malaria? He said, well, I'll take malaria eradication over a tenth of a degree of warming, and it's common sense. I think he's got his heart in the right place. He doesn't do things exactly as what you and I would do. For example, he's huge. He's a big proponent of vaccines, worldwide vaccinations from Central America. Everyone needs vaccinated, and we need it now. But he does want to have the people's health in mind, and that's what he's going to here. One of the big effects of the Bill Gates effect will be he is already pulling his many hundreds of billions or hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars that he's used to fund these the climate industrial complex, as we call it, all these groups that are really well funded because of Bill Gates. He's pulling that funding. People are really worried. They didn't like it. But he's finally, I've been saying, and you've had me on many times before, I've been very optimistic over the last several years, even when it looked very bleak during the Biden years. I was very optimistic that
You've never backed down.
The truth will win out. I was confident. I have the facts, the science, and the data on my side. He does not. And so it's me and my colleagues at the CO2 Coalition. We've got nearly 200 of the top scientists in the world. We're scientists, and we stick with the science. We try and stay out of the politics as much as we can. And I'm very, very confident that we are correct, that we're in a warming trend, no doubt, for sure. It's been warming for more than 300 years, long before we started adding CO2 to the atmosphere. The first Model T rolled out off the assembly line. It's been warming for 200 years before that. And so the warming that we're seeing is most likely predominantly naturally driven, maybe a little contribution. There is a little contribution from CO2 driven warming, but it's a minor component when you look back through history and through time. And so, the truth is going to win out. We've had discussions with my colleagues, why did Gates do this? I'd like to think that he finally learned what the science was. Maybe he looked at all the predictions that have been made and have all not come to pass, these horrible, catastrophic predictions. And perhaps I think the boy that cried wolf once too often, and now they're still going ballistic. Just last week, we have a new report saying the first climate tipping point was just reached.
Yeah.
It's coral. 80% of the coral reefs around the world are either dead or dying. That's categorically false. It's easily disproven. They pointed to the Great Barrier Reef. In 2024, they started doing surveys of the Great Barrier Reef for coral cover. 2024 had the record high level of coral cover in last year, in 2024, and they're trying to claim that it's dead and dying. It's not. And what they don't understand, they're saying it's getting too hot for the corals. Well, the greatest coral reef and biodiversity of corals and marine fishes is north of the Great Barrier Reef in the Coral Triangle, and it's 3 degrees centigrade warmer there than at the Great Barrier Reef. And we know that every degree of warming equates to about a 25% increase in calcification or coral growth. So the warmer it is, the faster they grow. Corals like it hot, and the hotter the better. And we can point to one false claim after another.
Yeah.
They're claiming we've got a limit to 1.5 degrees Celsius warming, or it's what's going to.
Well, even if the U.S. disappeared off the face of the earth, it would only affect like 1/10 of 1 degree by 2100 or something like that. If all our industry disappeared,